Queen Isabella of Valamir lived behind golden walls that gleamed brighter than her own heart. Her husband, King Edric, was a man of war, feared by his enemies, and feared even more by his wife. In the endless loneliness of her marble halls, Isabella found warmth in her personal guard, a man of honor, yet helplessly bound by passion. Their love began with stolen glances and lingering hands during court ceremonies. Every secret meeting beneath the candlelit balconies drew them closer to ruin. One fateful evening, a jealous courtier overheard them whispering words of devotion. By dawn, the entire palace buzzed with rumors. When the king learned of his wife's betrayal, his rage blackened the skies. Alaric was executed before the royal court, his head displayed at the palace gates. Isabella fainted at the sight, her screams echoing through the city. But vengeance breeds vengeance. The knight's family, powerful nobles themselves, rose in rebellion. Armies clashed across Valamir, cities burned, and the once great kingdom fractured into ashes. Years later, travelers spoke of a veiled woman who wandered the ruins of Valamir, laying white lilies on a forgotten grave. She was said to be Isabella, the queen whose love destroyed her crown. King Armand of Laurentia was born into destiny, raised to rule, to conquer, to marry for power. But destiny trembled when he met Alira, a healer's daughter from a distant village. Her laughter was unrefined, her hands calloused, but her spirit shone brighter than any jewel in his treasury. Against all counsel, Armand renounced his engagement to the Duchess of Vere, defying the alliance that promised peace. He declared Alira his queen before a silent court, and the realm erupted.
Nobles turned their backs, priests condemned him, and the Duchess's father declared war.
The royal advisors begged him to reconsider, but Armand only said, "I would rather lose a crown than lose her." War consumed Laurentia. Fields once golden with wheat became graves. Armand fought beside his soldiers until the final siege, defending his city with Alira watching from the tower. When an arrow struck his heart, he fell whispering her name. The kingdom surrendered within hours. Alira fled, carrying nothing but the ring he'd given her. For decades, bards sang their tale of a king who gave up his empire for love and a woman who walked the earth with a broken heart and a dead king's memory. Queen Marguerite of France and Prince Thomas of England met beneath chandeliers of peace, but their hearts sparked fire instead of diplomacy. She was married to an aging French king who saw her as a pawn, while Thomas was the son of the man sworn to be her nation's enemy. Yet behind closed doors, letters crossed borders, sealed with crimson wax and dangerous affection. Their affair lasted 5 years in secret. 5 years of passion, deception, and trembling hope. When Marguerite's husband discovered her betrayal, he called for her execution. But before the blade could fall, Thomas's army invaded to rescue her. The battle failed, the queen escaped, and both nations swore eternal vengeance. What began as a scandal became legend. The War of Hearts and Crowns raged for a century. Generations dying in the name of love long turned to dust. Bards wrote of how one kiss between enemies drowned the world in blood. Marguerite died in exile, clutching a faded letter from Thomas. History remembers kings and conquerors, but none so tragic as two lovers whose passion destroyed empires and stained 100 years with war. Princess Eleonora of Rethmer was born beneath a prophecy. Her heart shall rule her crown, and her crown shall fall for love. Her father dismissed it as superstition, but fate listens when mortals forget. Eleonora grew among silks and ceremonies, betrothed to the Prince of Averon, a political match that promised peace, yet her heart found music in a forbidden place, the royal gardens, where a traveling bard sang of love and loss. His name was Rohan! His songs stirred her soul in ways no noble ever had. Under moonlight, their worlds collided, a kiss beneath silver arches, a promise whispered into the night.
But love cannot hide in a palace of eyes.
A jealous maid sold their secret for a pouch of gold. Rohan was executed. His body hung beneath the balcony where they first met. Eleonora shattered. She refused her arranged marriage, cursing her father's throne. The alliance broke, and Rethma was invaded within months. The dynasty collapsed, its banners burned to dust.
Years later, a ghostly melody was said to haunt the ruins of Rethmir's palace, the song of a bard and a princess whose single kiss ended a kingdom.
Princess Seraphine of the Eastern Empire was her father Espride, a warrior princess, trained in both sword and statecraft.
But love found her not in royal halls, but on the battlefield, in the eyes of General Kale, the enemy's commander.
Their meetings began in truce tents, their conversations cautious. Yet soon, those talks became confessions, and confessions became forbidden love. They met in secret for years, bound by passion and divided by war. When Kale's army marched toward the capital, Seraphine faced an unbearable choice, her empire or her heart. She chose him. One night, she leaked her father's military strategy, believing it would save lives. Instead, it sealed the empire's fate. Kale's army conquered her homeland. Her father was slain, her people enslaved, and Seraphine's name was branded in history as the Crimson Traitor. She fled with Kale, but love could not silence guilt. Legends say she drowned herself in a river after giving birth to his child, the last heir of two broken nations. Empires rose again, but her name was whispered with both hatred and awe, the woman whose love turned victory into ruin. Sir Cedric of Otharan was a hero, a knight who had saved the kingdom from countless invasions. But behind his armor lay a secret more dangerous than any war. His forbidden affair with Queen Arabella. She was the light of the kingdom, the beauty poets sang of, yet trapped in a loveless marriage to the aging and paranoid king. Their love began as gratitude. The queen nursed Cedric's wounds after battle, and each night, their hearts grew closer until gratitude turned to passion. 4 years. They hid their affair in shadows, secret notes hidden beneath goblets, stolen nights behind velvet curtains. But betrayal always finds its way to the throne. The king's spy discovered them in the royal chambers one winter night. Cedric was dragged in chains to the courtyard, accused of treason and adultery. His execution was brutal, his body displayed as a warning. The queen was forced to watch. In her grief, Arabella poisoned the king's wine the very next night and ended her life beside Cedric's grave. The court descended into chaos, nobles rebelled, and within months, Althoran collapsed into civil war. The chronicles record their names as sinners, but ballads remember them as lovers who burned brighter than a kingdom. King Alden of Thareth was proud, noble, and ruthless, a ruler who feared nothing but scandal. Yet even kings fall, prey to the heart's rebellion. He fell deeply for Lady Morelle, his cousin's wife, a woman of rare grace and dangerous charm. Their affair began at a midsummer feast and soon turned into a tempest that consumed the court.
When Morel bore a child, whispers began. The prince did not resemble his supposed father.
Alden, desperate to hide the truth, manipulated the records, declaring the boy legitimate. But lies are weak foundations for empires. Years later, when Alden died, the child, now king, was accused of being a bastard. Nobles turned on him, factions rose, and the royal bloodline that had ruled for 3 centuries ended in fire. The truth surfaced too late. One forbidden affair had undone generations of power. Lady Morelle vanished, said to have joined a convent by the sea. But villagers spoke of a veiled woman who walked the cliffs each night, whispering a child's name to the wind, the son who lost his throne because of her love. Queen Helena of Darzon was married to King Othric, a ruler known for cruelty and bloodshed. He saw his queen as a symbol, not a soul. But when a new musician arrived at court, a young man named Lucien Helena's world transformed. His songs spoke of freedom, of tenderness, long forgotten. Their secret affair grew dangerous. Helena began sending him messages hidden inside her jewelry boxers, meeting in the gardens at midnight. When the king discovered her treachery, he ordered Lucien to be executed by fire. The queen's screams echoed through the castle as flames devoured her love. But her vengeance was swift. That night, she slit the king's throat in his sleep and set fire to the palace. The royal family perished in the inferno, and the Darzon throne was left without an heir. Neighboring kingdoms invaded, tearing the land apart in a decade of war. All that remained were ashes, and songs sung by wandering bards about the queen who burned her world for love. Empress Lysandra ruled the Western Empire with elegance and iron command. She was adored by her people, feared by her enemies, until love found her in the form of a scholar named Thalin, a man of wit and vision. He was beneath her station, yet she saw in him the soul of a poet. Their meetings were cloaked in secrecy, but Thalin's ambitions grew darker. He whispered ideas into her ear, to dismiss her generals, to silence her council, to trust only him. Blind in love, Lysandra obeyed. Within years, the empire weakened. Thalin's allies infiltrated the Senate, assassinated loyalists, and seized power from within. When Lysandra finally realized she had been used, it was too late. Her empire fell into rebellion, and Thalin crowned himself ruler. She was imprisoned, her name erased from every record. They say the Empress starved herself to death. Her final words carved into the cell wall. I gave him my heart, and he took my empire. The ruins of her palace still stand as a warning that even empires crumble when love turns to betrayal. King Leopold of Varin was known for his wisdom and diplomacy until he met Countess Eveline of Northmere. She was married, wealthy, and dangerously intelligent. Their secret affair began during peace negotiations. But what began as passion soon became politics. Eveline's influence over the king grew, and she began steering his every decision, replacing loyal ministers, forging treaties that benefited her family, and silencing opponents. The nobles grew restless. When her husband discovered the truth, he allied with foreign powers, accusing the king of treason and corruption. Within months, rebellion erupted. Armies marched against Varin, and the royal palace was stormed. Eveline was captured and executed, while the king, refusing to flee, burned the royal archives before taking his own life.
Varin collapsed into three warring states. Its unity lost forever.
History blamed the countess, but in secret letters discovered centuries later, Leopold wrote, I knew her love would destroy me, yet I welcomed ruin in her arms. Their love burned brighter than reason and consumed a kingdom whole. Prince Adrian of Norval was beloved by his people, noble, brave, and heir to one of the mightiest thrones in the medieval world. Yet all his valor turned to weakness the day he met Lady Avelis, the betrothed of his father's most trusted ally. Her beauty was like a sin sculpted into flesh, and her laughter was the sound of temptation itself. Their affair began in candlelit corridors and royal hunts. Each meeting drew them deeper into danger. When her fiancés discovered their secret, he turned his armies against the crown, declaring the prince unworthy of rule. The alliance crumbled, and soon, half the nobility joined the rebellion. Adrian begged his father for forgiveness, but the king disowned him, calling him the architect of the realm's ruin. The war that followed turned Norval into a wasteland. When the capital burned, Adrian carried Evelis through the flames, but she was struck by an arrow meant for him. He buried her beside the river and walked into the battlefield unarmed. Norval fell, never to rise again. Poets would later write, he traded a kingdom for a kiss and found eternity in her name. Duchess Amara of Riventhorn was married to a man she despised, Duke Ronan, a tyrant who ruled through fear. Her heart found freedom only in the letters sent by Lord Ilarion, the general of a rival kingdom. At first, their correspondence was political messages of negotiation and peace. But soon, the ink carried more than politics. It carried affection, longing, and forbidden dreams. When war erupted, Amara sent secret maps and strategies to Ilyrion's army, hoping to shorten the bloodshed. Instead, her betrayal brought the downfall of her own land. Riventhorn fell within weeks. The Duke was executed, and Amara was taken prisoner. Yet Ilarion, unable to condemn her, smuggled her out under cover of night. They fled together, living in exile by the sea.
But their happiness was brief. Ilarion's men turned against him, branding him a traitor for sparing the enemy duchess.
He was executed before her eyes. Amara followed him in death, walking into the sea at dawn. Their love was written out of history, erased from every royal record. Yet fishermen still tell tales of two figures walking hand in hand beneath the waves, bound forever by a love that destroyed kingdoms. King Theon of Drevas, his queen Lysette, and his brother Prince Roderick formed a triad of loyalty that once kept the kingdom strong. But the balance shattered when Lysette and Roderick fell in love.
What began as comfort during Theon's long absences in war turned into passion that neither could deny.
The affair lasted 3 years, hidden behind curtains of deceit. When Theon finally discovered the truth, his fury knew no bounds. He accused his brother of treason, and Roderick was executed in the courtyard where they once played as children. Lysette was locked in a tower, her cries echoing through the kingdom. But guilt corroded Theon's mind.
Haunted by visions of his brother's ghost, he descended into madness.
He ordered the deaths of his advisors, believing them conspirators, and within months, Drevas was leaderless. Neighboring realms invaded, and the kingdom collapsed into ruin.
When soldiers entered the royal tower, they found Lysette dead.
A dagger through her heart, and Roderick's Cisne carved into the wall beside her.
The legend of the cursed
Triangle of Drevas became a warning, whispered across generations.
Even kings can not rule. Love rules them.
The kingdom of Miraven once thrived under Queen Celesta and King Alaric, 2 rulers whose marriage had united warring clans. But peace is fragile, and love can destroy faster than war. Celesta fell for the enemy's son, Lord Darius, a captured noble taken as hostage for peace. In his chains, Darius spoke softly, telling her of honor, poetry, and freedom. The queen, starved for affection, released him in secret, and from that mercy, love was born. Their secret meetings continued even after his escape. When Alaric discovered the betrayal, he demanded her execution. But half the kingdom sided with Celesta, believing she had acted for love, not treason. Civil war erupted! Brother against brother, father against son. The bloodshed lasted 10 years. When the dust settled, Miraven was split into 2, north and south, never to reunite. Celesta and Darius vanished into legend, said to have fled across the sea. Some claim their descendants still live in exile, building small kingdoms of love where war could never reach. But history remembers them as the lovers who broke a nation apart, proving that the heart can destroy what even swords cannot. Queen Ravina of Solgard was a ruler of unmatched brilliance, a strategist, a scholar, and a woman who had led her people to prosperity. Yet all her wisdom dissolved the moment she met Kirin, a pirate lord captured by her navy. He was wild, unbound, and utterly fearless. When brought before her in chains, he spoke with defiance, calling her a bird in a gilded cage. Intrigued, Ravina spared his life. Days turned into nights of conversation, laughter, and eventual surrender. She freed him secretly, and when he returned months later with his ship and crew, she fled with him, abandoning her crown, her armies, and her people. Without its queen, Solgard fell into chaos. Nobles fought for power, invaders plundered the ports, and famine devoured the land. Ravina's name was struck from every royal record, replaced with curses and shame. Yet legends tell of her sailing the southern seas beside Kirin, a crown of gold melted into a ring on her finger. Her kingdom was lost, but her heart was free. Historians call it treason. Poets call it the greatest love story ever told. The queen who chose passion over power and watched the world burn for it.
Lady Eveline of Thornvale was a noblewoman trapped in luxury and silence.
Her husband, Duke Rohan, ruled with an iron fist, his cruelty unmatched.
Among his servants was a scholar named Elias, a man of low birth but high ideals.
He spoke of equality, of freedom, of love without chains. Aveline listened, first with curiosity, then with hunger, then with her heart. Their love became the whisper that would ignite a storm. Together, they began secretly funding rebels, hoping to end the tyranny that plagued the people. But love and rebellion are twin fires, and both burn uncontrollably. When the Duke discovered their affair, he ordered Elias to be hanged in the town square. Aveline stood watching, her heart breaking as the man she loved took his final breath. That night, she fled the castle and joined the uprising. The rebels carried her name as a banner Lady Flame. The revolution she started consumed the land. The nobility fell, the monarchy collapsed, and Thornvale was left in ruins. Aveline died in battle, sword in hand, crying Ilias's name to the heavens. History remembers her not as a sinner, but as the woman whose love burned the foundations of an empire. The House of Varin had ruled for 7 centuries until Queen Celindra's heart strayed. Her husband, King Darius, was noble and just, but his devotion to the realm left her cold and unseen. She found warmth in Captain Rylan, commander of the Royal Guard, a man whose loyalty to the throne warred against his passion for her. Their affair was pure at first, born of loneliness and longing, but secrets wrought even the purest hearts. When an enemy spy learned of their meetings, he used the truth as a weapon, spreading word that the queen's unborn child was not the king's heir. Civil war erupted between factions who believed the claim and those who did not. The kingdom divided, brother against brother, blood staining the royal banners. Darius was slain in battle, Celindra captured, and Rylan executed before her eyes. The royal bloodline ended that day. The House of Varin was erased, their sigil burned from every wall. But in hidden letters found decades later, Celindra's final words were revealed. They called it betrayal. But I called it love, and it was worth the ruin of kings. King Halric of Eswyn was adored by his people, a young, charismatic ruler whose victories filled songs. Yet his heart belonged not to his queen, but to Leora, a woman of mysterious origins who appeared one stormy night at the palace gates. Her beauty was unearthly, her charm intoxicating. Soon, Halric ignored his duties, his counsel, and even his wars. He built Leora a marble palace by the sea and crowned her Lady of Dawn. The court despised her, but no one dared speak until famine struck. Leora convinced the king to raise taxes to fund her palace. The people starved, and rebellion began to brew. Rumors spread that Leora was a witch sent to curse the crown. One night, the royal guard stormed her chamber, and Halric fought them himself, killing his own soldiers to protect her. The kingdom fell apart as the rebellion reached the gates. When the castle finally burned, Leora vanished, leaving no trace. Some say she fled with stolen treasure. Others believe she was never human at all. King Halric died defending the empty throne, undone by the love that made him forget his crown. Queen Isabel of Travan
Was married at 16 to unite 2 rival nations.
Her husband, King Osric, was twice her age, cold, cruel, and consumed by power. During a peace visit, Isabel met Lord Adrin, the enemy general's son, whose kindness struck her like lightning through stone. Their meetings were brief and hidden, stolen moments in gardens, letters written in invisible ink. But their love was discovered by Osric's spies. Enraged, the king had Adrin captured and executed, sending his severed head to his father as an insult. The result was catastrophic. The enemy swore vengeance, and a war erupted that would last 30 years. Cities burned, millions perished, and Travan was left barren and broken. Jabel, stricken by guilt, fled her castle and disappeared into the mountains. Legends say she lived as a hermit for decades, her crown buried beneath snow, her heart buried with To this day, travelers claim to see her ghost wandering battlefields, whispering his name into the wind. The queen whose love cost her kingdom everything. Princess Ilaria of Northold was the pride of her realm, educated, beautiful, and promised to a prince who would unite the fractured north. But her heart was stolen by Cassian, a foreign soldier serving as her bodyguard. He taught her laughter, swordplay, and the freedom her title denied her. Their love grew in secrecy, and one night she fled the palace with him, abandoning her engagement. The scandal shattered the alliance her father had built for decades.
Neighboring lords rose in fury, armies clashed, and a war of succession began.
Ilaria and Cassian tried to escape across the border, but fate found them. Cassian was slain defending her from bounty hunters, and she was dragged back in chains. Her father cursed her, calling her the death of Northold. Years later, when the kingdom lay in ruins, Ilaria's grave was found beside Cassian's, hidden deep in the woods. On the stone was carved. They called it treason. We called it love. The war she caused killed thousands, but her name survived centuries. The princess who burned her world for a kiss? Prince Leon of Alvarez was destined to inherit a peaceful and prosperous realm. His father, King Torvald, was a ruler beloved by his people and feared by his enemies. But Leon's heart led him astray. Not to a noblewoman, but to a priestess of the Temple of Light, sworn to eternal chastity. Her name was Selena. Their meetings began with whispers under cathedral arches, then grew into something sacred and sinful all at once. When the high priest discovered their affair, he threatened to expose them both. In desperation, Leon set fire to the temple to destroy the evidence. The flames consumed more than stone. They consumed faith itself. The kingdom erupted in outrage. The church declared Leon a blasphemer. The people rebelled, and the royal family fractured. His father disowned him. His mother fled in shame, and within months, the holy city lay in ruins. Selene died in the fire, her final prayer unheard. Leon, broken and hunted, was executed by his own guards. The royal bloodline ended that night, and with it, Alvarez's golden age. It was said that love made him human, and that humanity destroyed his crown. In the kingdom of Draven, no story was more scandalous than that of Queen Merwin and the blacksmith's son, Corin. She met him while disguised as a servant, curious to see the life of her people. He was strong, kind, and unafraid to speak truth to power, something no noble dared. What began as curiosity became obsession. She met him often, sneaking through tunnels beneath the castle to feel his arms instead of her husband's crown. But love between a queen and a commoner cannot remain hidden for long. A spy followed her one night and revealed everything to the king. Corin was sentenced to death by fire, but Merwin intervened, freeing him with the help of loyal guards. The couple fled the capital, igniting rebellion across the land. Commoners rallied behind their love, demanding justice. Within a year, the monarchy fell. Merwin and Corin ruled briefly as symbols of freedom, but betrayal came again from those they trusted. Both were executed by revolutionaries who claimed to fight in their name. Yet centuries later, peasants still tell the tale of the queen who abandoned her throne for a kiss, and the blacksmith who taught her that love is stronger than crowns. In the empire of Veldara, the royal court prided itself on purity, honor, and divine right. But beneath its marble halls, a secret was brewing: the empress's affair with her own husband's advisor, Lord Casimir. Emperor Lucan trusted Casimir with his armies, his treasury, even his life. But while Lucan campaigned in the east, Casimir and Empress Alera fell into a forbidden passion. For 3 years, their love remained hidden until a servant uncovered letters sealed with the imperial crest. Lucan returned in fury. He executed the servant, exiled Casimir, and imprisoned Alara. Yet his vengeance blinded him to his empire's decay. Nobles rebelled, trade collapsed, and neighboring kingdoms attacked. Sensing weakness, Casimir raised his own army, claiming Alara had been wronged. War tore Veldara apart. The emperor was slain in battle. Alara was found dead in her cell, her wrists marked with blood and sorrow.
Casimir vanished, his name erased from all chronicles.
Veldara never recovered. Its vast empire split into warring states. Historians call it the Great Collapse. But poets say it began with something far smaller: a glance. Between an empress and her husband's most trusted friend. Empress Callista of the Northern Dominion was a legend of strength, cold, strategic, unyielding. But even iron queens can break. When a captured enemy prince, Daran, was brought before her, his defiance intrigued her. She kept him as a prisoner, then as an advisor, and finally, as a lover. Their affair was the Empire's greatest secret. Callista's generals warned her. Her council begged her, but she silenced them all. Daran's words softened her heart and weakened her grip on power. When rebellion broke out in the south, she ignored it to protect him. Her enemies learned of the affair and used it as a weapon. Daran was captured and executed publicly, his body displayed beneath her balcony. In her rage, Callista declared war on every kingdom involved. The conflict lasted 7 years, devouring her armies and her sanity. When her capital fell, she took her own life beside Darren's sword. The Northern Dominion, once the most powerful empire on Earth, dissolved overnight. They say her ghost still walks the palace ruins, searching for him, the enemy who conquered her not with armies, but with love.
King Thorian of Eldreth ruled with fairness and wisdom, but his heart held one secret, his love for his wife's sister, Lady Ev.
She was everything his queen was not. Gentle, compassionate, unafraid to love him back. Their affair began in secrecy, and soon became the heartbeat of his life. When the queen discovered the betrayal, she turned to dark magic for vengeance. Cursing both Thorian and Ivana, she declared that no heir born of his blood would ever sit peacefully on the throne. Within months, the kingdom began to crumble. Crops failed, storms ravaged cities, and the royal family fell ill. Thorian tried to end the curse through sacrifice, offering his crown to the gods. But it was too late. His sons died young, his daughters went mad, and Ivana vanished one night beneath a blood-red moon. Generations later, the curse remained. Every heir of Eldreth met a tragic fate, betrayed, poisoned, or slain by love itself. Scholars say it was divine punishment. Poets say it was the echo of a forbidden kiss that never died. In the end, one truth endured. Love built the crown and love destroyed it. Sir Cedra was the greatest knight of the realm, brave, loyal, and sworn to protect Princess Aveline, daughter of King Rohan. Duty bound them at first, but as years passed, protection turned to affection, and affection into forbidden love. When the king arranged Aveline's marriage to a foreign prince to seal a powerful alliance, she refused, confessing her love for Cedric. Enraged, the king ordered the knight's arrest. Cedric fled with Aveline into the dark woods, and for months, they lived as fugitives hunted by royal guards. The prince's kingdom, insulted by the broken betrothal, declared war. Armies clashed, villages burned, and famine spread. King Rohan died in battle, cursing his daughter's name with his final breath. Aveline and Cedric were captured soon after. They were executed side by side, their hands bound together. Legend says that when their bodies were burned, their ashes rose together in the wind, never to be separated again. Their love became both a song and a warning. Beware the kiss that defies the crown. 4 kingdoms fall, when hearts wear armor. Empress Lyrian ruled her empire with cunning and cruelty, feared by nobles and worshipped by the poor. But her iron heart was pierced by the most unlikely man, her would-be assassin, Kale. Captured while attempting to kill her, Kale's fearlessness fascinated her. Instead of execution, she kept him imprisoned in her chambers. Days turned into nights, filled with conversation, then confession, and finally, desire. Love bloomed between ruler and captive, defying every law of gods and men. Lyrian freed Kale and made him her secret protector, her shadow in a world of daggers. But when her council learned of the affair, they plotted against her. They poisoned Kale and blamed him for treason. Enraged, Lyrian executed half her court in vengeance, plunging the empire into chaos. Civil war erupted. Her enemies stormed the palace, finding her cradling Kale's lifeless body on the throne. She refused to flee. When the flames reached the hall, she whispered, "I have no empire without him," and vanished into the inferno. The empire fell within a year. Chronicles called it divine retribution. Poets called it what it truly was, love's final rebellion. Queen Adelara of Tharn was widowed young, her husband slain in war. She spent her nights wandering the ancient castle halls, haunted by grief until one stormy evening, she saw him again, the ghost of her fallen king. At first, she thought it madness, but the spirit spoke her name, touched her cheek, and soon, their forbidden reunion became nightly ritual. Courtiers whispered of the queen speaking to shadows, of laughter in empty corridors, but love blinded her to reason. As the months passed, crops failed, livestock died, and strange omens filled the skies.
Priests declared the queen cursed her love for the dead had angered the gods.
When they tried to perform an exorcism, the spirit turned violent, killing half the royal court. Edeliera refused to abandon him. She burned down her palace, vanishing with the ghost into smoke. The kingdom fell soon after, its lands swallowed by neighboring empires. To this day, travelers claim to see her wandering the ruins in moonlight, dancing with her ghostly king. The love that destroyed an entire realm. Prince Darius of Kerith was raised to hate the rival kingdom of El. For generations, their lands had clashed over power and pride. But during a peace conference, he met Princess Leona of Eldwyn, his enemy's daughter, his soul's reflection.
Their love grew in secrecy, defying the blood-stained history of their families.
They dreamed of uniting their nations through peace, not war. But when their affair was discovered, both courts accused the other of seduction and betrayal.
Darius was imprisoned.
Leona was forced into marriage with another man. Desperate, she fled to free Darius. The two escaped and tried to rally their followers for peace, but the world was not ready. A war broke out deadlier than any before. Both kingdoms collapsed, their rulers slain, their lands divided by endless battle. Darius and Leona were never seen again. Centuries later, a lone monument stood at the border. Two figures carved in stone, facing one another but never touching. Beneath it were inscribed the words, "They tried to end war with love, and ended both instead." In the final age of the great continent, two powerful empires stood. Solara and Nere. Their rulers, Emperor Karen and Queen Lysandra, were sworn enemies. But during peace negotiations, their enmity turned to attraction, fierce, forbidden, and uncontrollable. They met in secret, swearing to unite their thrones through love. Yet when their councils discovered the affair, betrayal consumed everything. Karen's generals revolted, accusing him of treason. Lysandra's advisors poisoned her court to seize control. Instead of peace, their union birthed apocalypse. Amarescetto, the skies burned, and magic itself, once used to protect the world, was unleashed in fury. Forests turned to ash, seas boiled, and cities vanished in light. Karen and Lysandra met one last time on a battlefield of fire, holding each other as the world crumbled around them. Their final kiss ended the Age of Empires.
Legends say two stars appeared in the heavens that night, forever bound together, a reminder that love, when powerful enough, can not only destroy kingdoms,
but end worlds.